Here's everything we know about Slime Rancher 2. Hi friends, and welcome to Slime Rancher. If you were one of the more than 15 million players who enjoyed the original Slime Rancher game that was released in 2016, you may be excited to learn that we are finally getting a sequel 6 years later, starting on September 22nd, 2022. Monomi Park has released plenty of information about this much-loved farming sim sequel across various social avenues, but as of yet, there isn't a comprehensive look at all of the stuff out there, so I've condensed it all down for you. If you find this overview useful, or if you just enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It would be much appreciated. But without further ado, let's go over everything we know about Slime Rancher 2. As any good real estate agent would tell you, the first thing you need to worry about is location, location, location. So let's go over where Slime Rancher 2 is set. While this may still be some piece of the far, far range, this new adventure takes place on the brightly colored and aptly named Rainbow Island, which is a far departure from the more arid parts of the far, far range we knew from the first game. So far, there are 4 unique biomes in addition to your main ranch, which in this game is known as the Conservatory. In this massive, lush greenhouse, there are a starting 8 corral plots, just like what you found on your ranch in the Dry Reef from the last game. Given some of these small clips that we see between the 2 released trailers, it seems like Slime Rancher 2 will follow a similar model to what we found in Slime Rancher 1, where you purchase a series of ranch expansions to unlock new areas to farm yet more cute wiggly friends. As of yet, the only expansion that we've seen is this dark cave with some kind of central pillar with a lovely mushroom sticking out of the side, and at least 4 new corral plots that we can see in this one short clip. The rest of the released footage shows off those 4 biomes that I briefly mentioned, so let's get into those. In a lot of ways, Rainbow Island seems to be a fairly drastic departure from the majority of the environments we got to know in Slime Rancher 1. Where most of the biomes in the original game were fairly desolate and lacking any appreciative vegetation aside from the moss blanket, almost every section of Rainbow Island seems to be covered in life. I would call it greenery, but that would exclude everything else that we find in the Rainbow Fields, which if I had to guess would probably be the new starting tutorial area. It's a pretty open and vast area without too many slime varieties hopping around, and it seems like a pretty friendly way to introduce both new and experienced ranchers to a new environment. Don't worry too much about those long-eared friends that you see here because we'll get to those guys in just a second. The rainbow fields are decorated with lovely colorful grasses and some big old fossilized slimes, and plenty of interactive environments to keep you engaged before you move on to the Starlight Strand. The Starlight Strand boasts a bit more color contrast and a few more trees than the Rainbow Fields, supposedly juxtaposing the color palettes of both dusk and dawn against each other. Here's where we also get our first glimpse of story information, as the devs have hinted that while the Starlight Strand may be beautiful, there is a strange sense of foreboding that accompanies the gorgeous auroras that decorate the skies. However, the minimal sense of dread that you get from the Starlight Strand will only be multiplied once you encounter the Ember Valley. According to this one Twitter post from the official Slime Rancher account, the theme of the Ember Valley builds towards a crescendo that erupts like lava bursting from its surface. There is an urgency here to get your work done before it all comes crashing down. But just like any best laid plans, Rainbow Island may have a different destiny ahead. If that doesn't scream ominous to you, I honestly don't know what would. Throughout the Ember Valley, you'll see tons of floating soot, bubbling lava, and boom slimes seemingly at peace in this natural habitat for them. But what does that sense of urgency really mean? Maybe there's some sort of large volcano that threatens to destroy Rainbow Island and it's up to you to save the day. Maybe there's some sort of ticking time bomb just waiting to go off, and the only way to prevent an explosion is to find and fill all of those secret slime receptor statues throughout the island. At this point, no one knows, and we're just going to have to wait to see what all of that urgency is for. But if you were looking for something a bit more calm, thankfully there's at least one other biome type that you can explore to bide your time before the volcano goes boom, and that would be the tide pools that connect one ecosystem to another. These little waterways make for some great, smooth transitions between areas and bring the island feel throughout the whole world, which is a much needed change from some of the more drastic ecosystem boundaries we encountered in the first game. But that's it for all of the new biomes. Next, let's talk about the slimes. These little wiggly fellows are the main reason that you play this game. They're your farming resource and your only real friends on the far, far range, so I would hazard a guess that something called a slime is important in a game called Slime Rancher. As far as the devs have confirmed, all of the slime types that exist in Slime Rancher 1 will carry over to the sequel, so you can anticipate having a farm full of the tabby slimes you know and love, all the way through to the crystal and quantum slimes. It's also confirmed that the gruesome tars are returning to terrorize your poor wiggly friends, but you can still fend them off with a healthy supply of water. As for the new slimes, we currently know of at least 5 slime types that will be introduced with Slime Rancher 2. The first is that bunny slime we mentioned earlier, properly called the cotton slime, which you can find hopping around pretty much anywhere that isn't the Ember Valley from what it seems. The cotton slime may be another one of those easy to farm but not super valuable kinds of slimes, where you just hoard a ton of them in the early game, and then you forget about them when something more lucrative comes along. These little guys are also shown as a mixed largo in combination with the new butterfly slimes that it seems like you can find flying around the rainbow fields. As for diets, at least one of these two is vegetarian because we can feed them some type of small purple cabbage, which is a new farmable crop. Don't worry though, because all of the foods we know and love also seem to be returning with their main squishy predators, so you can still farm mint mangoes to your heartbeat's content. Back to new slimes, however, we then have the bat slimes, which I would guess may operate kind of similarly to the phosphor slimes, where they're only out during the night and they either have to live in that cave or in sun-protected corrals if you want to keep them on your ranch. Right next to them, if you look really closely, you can also see some of the new angler slimes in another corral. This is kind of surprising that they're not in one of the ranch ponds because they only seem to spawn in water bodies like the puddle slimes from the first game. Maybe they're just amphibians who prefer water but don't really need it. Anyways, these little wiggly buddies seem to be found in the tide pools that connect through all of the major biomes, which would also make them relatively abundant. Which I can't say for certain is true about our last confirmed new slime, because the one and only place you'll see this raccoon slime is in the art that dropped last week along with the game's new release date. So, objectively, we know nothing about this slime, just that it will probably be in the game. And just to clarify, we're not entirely certain that some of the specialty slimes, like the Quicksilver or Saber slimes, will make a reappearance due to their special unlock requirements with various ranch expansions that you would need to talk to other ranchers to unlock. Speaking of those other ranchers, we can say at least for certain that Victor will be in the game, considering he introduces Rainbow Island in one of those 2 released trailers we mentioned. While Victor is the only character we see appearing in those trailers, the CEO of Monomi Park did say in a Reddit post that knowing the character arcs from the first game would help you appreciate them more in the sequel, which does imply that at least one other character will be appearing in Slime Rancher 2. Personally, I'm really hoping that we get to meet Hobson, because he was the only central character that we didn't really encounter in the first game, and this seems like a fitting way to introduce him as a real character given his own story arc. But in addition to the returning characters, there are plenty of both new and returning gameplay features that we should pay attention to. We already mentioned the tars, which implies that we'll probably still have the tiered kind of difficulty between casual, adventure, and rush, if not also some other kinds of new modes. Feral slimes are also making a comeback with some angry cotton slimes, which I think it would be quite funny if there was a rare variant that referenced the rabbit of Carbonog from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but that's just me. The last confirmed returning feature is the slime science materials that you'll need to craft gadgets, but it seems that the method for gathering all of these materials is significantly different. Instead of having to craft tons of specialized extractors and spreading them throughout the world of your own accord, it seems like a lot of the resources in the sequel are just found throughout the world, like this rock structure in the Tide Pool Cave that gives what I'm guessing is indigonium, or this hanging beehive that gives what seems to be buzzwax. Either way, I think the intent of providing resources this way was to make slime science slightly more accessible as you progress through the game and less of an endgame add-on that you just mess around with once you've already completed most of your ranching journey. Finally, if you were paying attention, you probably noticed this little indicator on your backpack, which is a new addition to the game's UI. We haven't really seen any of what the inventory system in Slime Rancher 2 looks like so far, so we really can't say that it will be the same 4-slot backpack with a water slot, or if the devs have taken the fan suggestion to make more backpack slots a purchasable gear upgrade. However, being able to see what resources you've selected in your backpack itself is a nice way to seamlessly integrate a UI feature into the game itself. And now that we're done talking about all of the fun new gameplay stuff that's coming, it's time to jump back into reality and think about what we can really expect to see on September 22nd. Slime Rancher 2 will be releasing on both PC and Xbox Series X. And as of yet, no other platforms have been announced, although I think it's likely that we can expect a PS5 version and possibly another portable version as the game progresses throughout development. And no, you cannot pre-order Slime Rancher 2 due to the early access release style, so everyone will be waiting until the 22nd to get their hands on their own copy. Of course, launching into early access means that the game will not be complete on release, so we shouldn't expect a fully polished and finished game on the 22nd, although it is intended to be infinitely playable throughout all stages of development. That being said, the devs have confirmed that they plan to release multiple free updates, and hopefully you should be able to move your save files from one patch to another, making the playthrough experience as smooth as it can possibly be. And the last major thing that all of you Slime Ranchers may be interested in is the idea of a multiplayer experience. Sadly, the devs have no plans to make Slime Rancher a multiplayer game at this point, and frankly, I don't really think that it's likely to ever happen due to the way the physics and the story operate in the game. But with any luck, we'll see the release of another great game from Monomi Park drop on September 22nd, 2022. And hopefully this early access won't last for 4 years like another one of my favorite games, so that's something to keep our fingers crossed for. Ultimately, I think Slime Rancher 2 has a lot of promise in terms of gameplay, story design, and future goals, but we'll just have to wait and see. Anyways, that's it for me for now. I hope you enjoyed. Please consider leaving a like if you did, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. It really helps me out. I hope to see you all again soon, but until then, have a great day.